How difficult is it to make $1 million? Well, it really depends on this one thing. Hey, it's Different Colin, and this is my Thoughts Season 2. Let me begin this video by sharing with you why I became an entrepreneur. You see, around 8 years ago, a friend of my wife called her. It was during the end of the year, and it was time for us parents to buy new books and new uniforms for our children. So that year, my boy was graduating from primary 3 to primary 4. And my wife's friend, let's just call her Alice. Well, Alice's son was also graduating to primary 4. So Alice called my wife and asked what size of PE t-shirt should a primary 6 boy wear. My wife was puzzled, so she asked Alice, why primary 6? Her boy was, after all, primary 4 the next year, so was she buying for a friend? Alice's reply broke our heart. She said, no, I'm buying the t-shirt for my son so that he can wear from primary 4 all the way to primary 6. I mean, at that time when both my wife and I were civil servants earning pretty high salaries, we wouldn't have ever thought that someone couldn't even afford a $15 PE t-shirt. So naturally, my wife offered to buy for Alice, but she turned the offer down. So it was through this somewhat uneventful incident that had my wife and I reflect on what truly made us happy. And at that time, I particularly felt that to be able to give is the epitome of happiness. And since then, we made up our minds to quit our comfy government jobs to become entrepreneurs so that we can make $1 million in a year and give it all away. And so we set out to learn how to make $1 million by learning from gurus. And in 2015, we began our 10-year journey to make that goal to give away $1 million by the end of 2024. Now, frankly, we still have a long way to hit that target, but we have been making steady progresses. But the main thing about making $1 million was the lesson I learned from that particular business guru. Well, it turned out that he wasn't so much of a guru, and just last year he actually ran away with investors' money, and CAD has been looking for him since. But that lesson was so profound, yet so simple, that I thought of sharing it here with you. So the questions we are trying to answer in this video is, how difficult is it to make $1 million? Now, wherever you are watching this video from, let me qualify that my $1 million here is in Singapore dollars. That is roughly US $750,000. Well, anyway, how difficult is it? Well, like I mentioned at the start of the video, it really depends on this one thing. Now, I'll review that answer a little bit later, but first let me share what that guru taught me about making $1 million. He said this: remember, this was profoundly simple that you might just roll your eyes. He said, to make $1 million, all you have to do is to sell 1 million items of $1 each, 100,000 items of $10 each, 10,000 items of $100 each, 1,000 items of $1,000 each, 100 items of $10,000 each, 10 items of $100,000 each, and finally, well, you guessed it, 1 item of $1 million. Well, he also qualified that any combination of the above scenarios is possible too. Honestly, I was like, man, isn't this common sense stuff? I thought I knew this when I was in primary school. But little did I realize the profound meaning behind it. Now, different people would sort of interpret this differently. I don't know which of these combinations appeal to you most, but to me, the extreme polarities, the 1 million items of $1 each and the one item of $1 million seem really very challenging to me. To me, something in the middle, the 1,000 items of $1,000 each, seems most achievable for me. And so ever since I started my digital marketing and video production company, my prices have always hovered around the $1,000 mark for one item. So either it's $1,000 for one video, or $1,000 for a month of social media marketing, or $1,000 for a group coaching deal. And with that figure, right, I have always been trying to achieve a sale of 1,000 units of my products. So if I break it down into an equal share monthly, that's roughly 83 sales of $1,000 each per month. Now, have I achieved this amount of sales yet? No. Is it achievable eventually? Sure, yes. The point I realized from that guru is this. It's about realizing what is realistically achievable. To me, and like what he said, there are many ways to make $1 million. Now, in the past, I only thought I could achieve this if I won the lottery, and that's one item of $1 million. But the odds of that happening is 1 in around 12 million here in Singapore's lottery, which is called the Toto. Otherwise, I must try to sell 1 million items of $1 each. And even with an e-commerce business, this is really very difficult. And so I realized what's realistically achievable for my business, and that's 1,000 items of $1,000. Once I know how to sell one item of $1,000, I just need to scale it to 10 items. And then do the same to sell 100 items. And after a while, I'll eventually reach 1,000 items of $1,000 in a year. So now, back again to the initial point to this video. What's that one thing that is dependent to determine how easy is it to make $1 million? The answer is time. You see, while there are many ways to make $1 million, there is also the time element that we have to be cognizant of. In the past, when I was working for a salary, it would take around 7 to 8 years for me to make $1 million. It's still $1 million, but it just took longer. Now today, I aim to make $1 million in 1 year, 7 to 8 times shorter than if I were still be drawing my salary at a constant rate. So instead of selling more, we can just reframe our mind to sell faster. And so if our current rate of selling is at around 40 items of $1,000 each monthly, we just need to sell roughly twice as fast. My point here is this. Whenever we see other people making $1 million, we oftentimes are either envious of them or we are jealous of them. Some of us go to the extreme of labeling those millionaires as evil, that they are conning people for money or they don't deserve that money. And so naturally, this kind of thoughts is framing us to think that making $1 million is extremely difficult, that only a selected few, usually the evil ones, will be able to achieve that. Instead, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I reframed myself to see things differently. I began to analyze and study how people make $1 million in a year. And then I look at myself, how long did it take for me to make that amount? Because given enough years, right, many people can eventually make $1 million. So now, with that analysis, I can break it down to see how I can use time, specifically use less time to achieve the target. Now, it can be that I work twice as long as most people, which actually for many years when I first started running my business, I was doing so, working some 16 to sometimes 18 hours daily. Then I started to hire some help and my staff can offload some work, thereby giving me more time to do something of higher value. And it's with this way of thinking that I can move my company to eventually hit that $1 million mark in a year. It's profound. But when you think deep into the math, right, it's actually quite common sense. It's actually quite simple, really. Well, I've studied less than 3 years to achieve my target. There's quite a possibility that I will not hit that. But looking back at where this all started, with that $15 PE t-shirt that we wanted to give to Alice, right? I think we have come a long way. If I didn't start then, I'll probably be still scoring at those evil millionaires who con people to make their money. So my friend, would you start to reframe your thinking starting today to think that it is actually not that difficult to make $1 million? Well, let me know in the comments below. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you'll be informed of my new videos too. In the next episode, I'll be sharing my thoughts on how many businesses actually succeed eventually. The answer will definitely shock you. So thank you for watching this video. I'm Differenter Colin. Why be different when you can be different? I'll see you in the next video.